What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with a banger of a video. Hope you guys enjoy this one. Drop a like if you do, and also follow my new Instagram. My last one got banned. The link is at the very top of the description and also in the comment section, or you can just go to Instagram and type in the @GBLN420. That's right, gamers. Hey, follow the new one. I'm almost at 20K. Listen, do it right now. I'm not going to ask again. That's the nicest way I'm going to do it, honestly. All right, without further ado, let's get right into the video, and thank you for the follow in advance. I appreciate it, gamers. But either way, let's get into the video. So this is a classic one. This is one that, honestly, this is probably one of my best untold stories yet, in my opinion. So it's not untold anymore, I guess. But this happened back in high school, as those of you guys viewing could probably guess, during the peak phase of my acid consumption, right? My junior year of high school. And on this particular day, I went over to my buddy Jimmy's house. Now, Jimmy is a friend of mine. I honestly don't remember what name I gave him in previous videos, because he's only been in maybe like 10 videos or so. However, this is the guy that I tripped for the very first time with at this guy's house, right? To give a little context for you OG viewers out there. So, I go over to Jimmy's house on this particular day, and he lives literally across the street from me. So, I walk over to Jimmy's house, and I get over there, and it's just us two over there. But we had some plans for the evening, right? We already discussed earlier in the week that, once Jimmy's parents left for the weekend, I should come over and bring a few tabs. Obviously, I'm down as hell for that because Jimmy had a very, very nice house, and it was a very good place to trip at. It was really big. He had a nice big backyard, a sunroom that was super dope. Listen, it was the place to be, all right? So I grab a nice half of a 10 strip. I grab 5 tabs and I run on over there, right? I get over to Jimmy's house, and it's just him and I chilling on this day. Everyone else that we hit up was pretty busy and didn't really want to kick it, so we were like, whatever. We can get lit. You know what? We could trip balls. We could have a hoot together. Who cares, right? So we're sitting there for a little bit, and we're rolling up our weed before we start tripping. We're like, we should probably be a little proactive here and at least pre-roll like 2 blunts or so and then save the rest of the weed for later, right? So we're sitting at his dining room table, and we're rolling up a little bit, and we're trying to figure out what we want to go do for the night, right? We're rolling up these blunts, and we can't really figure out what to do. We're like, we could find other people to kick it with, but then we realized we already hit up everyone, and they all said no. So maybe we could, go to the mall, but to do what? That's stupid as hell, bro. Like we don't even need to, we look at clothes we maybe want. Like, whatever, We're sitting there trying to figure it out, and we're like, you know what? Let's just let the tabs lead the way. How about that? Let's let the tabs lead the charge, So we finished rolling up just one of the blunts. We were getting a little anxious. Not anxious, a little antsy to trip, right? We're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. So we spark up this first blunt. We go out to his sunroom to smoke it, right? We spark up this first blunt. I look over to Jimmy and I'm like, yo, you want to just fucking pop these tabs and figure it out later? He's like, yeah, dude. Fuck it. Sounds good. So we end up popping these tabs, right? I brought 5 tabs with me, but I wanted to save one. I didn't know if I wanted to take 3, and Jimmy didn't either, right? So we each ended up popping 2 of them. Now, I ended up bumming these to Jimmy for free because he didn't have any money. Well, he had a little bit of money, but not really much if he wanted to do anything that night. So I was like, hey, listen, dude, I got these for a good price anyways. Just hang on to them, Because at this point, I was still getting my acid from Ashton. So I was paying really good prices for really good shit. So I'd hook the homies up too. I'd pass it along a little bit. He'd hook me up. I'd hook the homies up. Hey, we all get fucked up over here, So we each pop 2 tabs, and we're sitting there, and maybe 5 or 10 minutes go by past popping these tabs, and it dawns on me. We need to go see a fucking movie. Whenever you have nothing to do when you're tripping, one of the most fantastic things to do is watch a movie. Doesn't matter if it's at the movie theater or at home or on your phone. Doesn't matter. It's just fun, right? It captivates you way more than it does watching a movie when you're fucked up on anything else, in my opinion. Like, tripping and watching a movie is different. That shit feels like you're there, So I'm sitting there and I'm like, listen, we got to go see a movie. We didn't even know what movies were showing at this point, but we just figured, you know what? We're going to be fucked up enough to find something good. So we're sitting there, and now we're trying to figure out, like, okay, how are we getting to the movies? Jimmy doesn't normally have a car. However, Jimmy had a little trick up his sleeve. He's like, yo, dude, come inside with me for a minute. So we finished smoking this blunt, we put it out, and I go back inside with him. And he's got a set of car keys on the counter. I look at him and I'm like, Jimmy, like, when the fuck did you get a car? What do you mean? He's like, well, I didn't. My brother's out of town. Like, my parents are all gone because they're looking at college. Like, he's going on, like, college tours and shit. So I'm like, okay, like, that's beautiful news, Jimmy. That's fantastic. So we have the keys to this car. Let's whip this bitch. And his brother had it was a fairly old, but it was nice. It was a Subaru wagon. I don't remember if it was like a Forester, an Outback. I don't know, bro. It was a wagon. It was a Subi, and it was nice. That's all that mattered. That thing was trusty. It was a steed. I only rode in that car maybe once or twice, but it was just a nice car, and it ran good for how many miles it had, right? So, maybe like 15, 20 minutes had gone by, right? We go hop in the car. We're like, okay, all we got to do is just drive to this movie theater like 10 minutes away, and we're home free. You know, we're golden. We're good. I'm still not tripping at this point, but I'm a little bit stoned. I brought the weed and the blunts with us, figuring we want to smoke maybe after the movie or something, you know, and maybe even before, who knows. But I brought the bud and the blunts that I had with me just in case, you know. You never know. So we hop in the car. And Jimmy throws me the keys, and he's like, well, shit, dude. I mean, if this hits us, I don't want to be driving. So I'm like, all right, Jimmy, but you got to understand, like, if your brother's car gets fucked, this is mutual responsibility for sure, because we're both agreeing to be dumbasses. And he's like, yeah, sounds good. Pro tip here, everyone watching, don't drive when you're tripping. But I'm stupid, and I made a lot of shit decisions when I was young. So this was one of them. But either way, we hop in the car, and I wasn't tripping yet. So the way I rationalized it, well, I was like, well, maybe I'll make it to the movie theater before it hits. I don't want to spoil too much, but that doesn't happen. So, we're sitting in the car. You know, I started up. We pull out the driveway. And we're cutting through the neighborhoods to get over to this movie theater. It's only like a 10-minute drive, if even. That might be pushing it, honestly. Like a 7 to 8 minute cruise, you know? We're whipping in this Subaru. Jimmy sitting shotgun. Dude, I can't talk. Dude, fuck. Just... Cut it. Director, call the fucking director and cut it. All right. Either way, we're sitting in the car, right? We're riding along. And it gets real fucking bumpy out of nowhere. Like, I'm talking, like, on the right-hand side of this car, it feels like there's a T-Rex that is just chewing our wheel up as we're driving. It feels like there's a group of small children that just got out of the nearby elementary school. And they have helmets on, but I'm still running them over anyways. But the bumps I'm feeling are the different sizes of their helmets that I'm crushing. That's what it felt like, you know? So I'm sitting here and I'm like, yo, fuck, dude. Like this ain't running right, dude. I don't know what's going on. And Jimmy's sitting there and he's paying no fucking mind. He's like, dude, we'll figure it out, man. Just get to the fucking movie theater. And I'm like, Jimmy, dude, the whole wheel is shaking. I don't think I can make it to the theater, right? So finally, I pull this thing over, and we're still in the neighborhood. And we pop out of this fucking car. And we pop out, and not even maybe like 2 minutes go by after getting out. We look, and not 2 minutes, like 2 fucking seconds, right? We look and see that obviously the front right is flat. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, holy fuck. And I'm starting to feel the come up in my veins, right? Visually, I'm not really tripping yet. But in me, I'm feeling that electricity just pulsing through me. I'm feeling that, like, just that happy juice going through me. I'm feeling that, hey now, you know? I'm feeling vibrant. I'm feeling expressive. I'm feeling ready to go, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm like, holy fuck, dude. Like what do we do? I'm trying to keep myself calm a little bit here, but I'm also kind of grasping the reality of the situation because I'm not really tripping hard enough for this to be super funny yet, you know? I'm still at the point where I'm coming up and I'm grounded enough to realize, like, oh fuck, we're not getting to the movie theater, right? So I go and I sit back in the car. And Jimmy sits back in the car with me, and I look to him and I say to him, I'm like, dude, are you feeling this shit yet? And Jimmy looks to me and I just remember this guy's eyes are already bowling balls. He's like, yeah, dude, I definitely am. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm definitely coming up pretty hard right now. What do we do? He's sitting there and he's like, well, I have a spare in the back. And I'm like, okay, we can change it. Good, like, great, sounds good. We should chill out first and maybe smoke or something, you know, just to collect ourselves and make this a bit of a better experience. He agrees with me, so of course I bust out the blunts. I gut that shit right in the middle of the road in this neighborhood, and I start rolling, right? Now I'm sitting there, and as I'm in the middle of rolling up, I start coming up hard as fuck. I remember at one point I'm looking into my lap, and as I'm rolling this blunt, I stop rolling it and put this wrap back into my lap because I'm looking at my hands, and it almost looks like there's like a... Oh, this is so hard to describe. It looked like there was little bugs under my skin, but not in a scary way. Like, not in a way where I was like, oh my god, there's bugs in me. In a way where, like, it looked like little dots were moving under my skin almost. You know, like I could see the blood cells moving in my veins. It was really weird, but I just remember looking down at my hands and being like, oh my god, this is sick, right? So I ended up staring at my hands for a good few minutes before picking the blunt back up and finishing where I left off. Now, the blunts I roll when I'm tripping are always sloppy, but I get the job done, you know? It's kind of hard to focus on rolling when everything around you is going ape shit. But I try my best, and I usually succeed. So I get this blunt nice and twisted up, and we're sitting there for a minute, and we're about to spark this thing. I literally couldn't have been... Well, actually, okay, you could argue this is good timing, because at least we didn't spark it yet. But the guy whose house we broke down in front of comes out of the house, and he's walking up to the car, and I'm the first one to notice him, because Jimmy's just kind of watching me roll. And I look over and see this guy coming, and I kind of tap Jimmy, and I'm like, bro, like, there's some fucking old, there's some boomer coming up to the car, dude. Like, there's some old head over here, and he's coming over, and dude, this guy doesn't look very happy, you know? So he comes over to the car, and I guess he just had a resting grumpy face or whatever. Because I rolled down the passenger window, and he's like, oh, are you guys okay? Like, you know, I just saw you guys sitting out here for a little while. And I was like, yeah, dude, we're fine. He's like, oh, do you guys need any help? Do you, like, need me to call someone? And I'm like, no, it's just a flat tire, dude. You don't have to call the paramedics. Like, hey, it's just a flat tire, bud. And I'm looking at this guy, and I just remember he looked like almost like an evil movie character, bro. I don't know if it's because of how hard I was tripping, but this guy, he looked like, oh my god, what was that movie? Fucking Monster House? For some reason, he looked like the old guy in Monster House to me. If you guys don't know what that movie is, you're like for sure too young to be watching this video, and you should definitely close it now. But no, this guy was not looking great, you know? Like, he definitely looked like he'd seen some shit. So we're sitting there, and this guy just scared me shitless at this point. Even though he was being completely friendly, said nothing concerning. I'm sitting there, and as soon as he walks away, I'm like, Jimmy, dude, we gotta fucking move the car, bro. Like, we gotta move the car, dude. We don't know who that guy is, bro. He could be a Nazi. Like, we gotta move the fucking car, dude. Like, come on, bud. At the same time, we got a flat tire. But luckily, Jimmy agrees with me. So... I never found out if this did any extra damage or not, but I have a feeling this probably did some damage to the axle, but whatever. We put that bad boy back in drive, and we moved that motherfucker. I'm not talking like we moved it a couple houses down. We moved it a couple blocks, dude. We just drove this motherfucker a couple blocks away because we were so shook by this ancient old artifact man that came out of the neighboring house. We're sitting there, we're like, no, dude, fuck, this is cursed, dude. Get me out of this haunted fucking it-ass neighborhood, dude. I've had enough, right? So... we go a block or two over, and we stop this car. And we're like, all right, we got to smoke this blunt and figure it out. So we spark up the blunt, and at this point, I'm still tripping decently, but I wouldn't say I'm tripping too hard to really think about the situation, you know? I'd taken 2 tabs, yeah, but at this point, my tolerance was pretty high, because this was at the point in my life where I was tripping multiple times a week, you know? Like, I was tripping almost every other day at this point, for a good, 6-month period of my life. I was going ballistic, you know? So, it wasn't really that insane of a trip. It had some visuals that I guess you could argue were heavy. Like, for example, I remember looking at the trees, and all the lines on the trees, like the bark, they were all moving, you know? It looked like these trees were almost like the DNA of a finger, if that makes any sense. Like, the lines were all distorted and circular, and it literally looked like a big fingerprint tree, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But either way, we pull a block or 2 away. And finally, we spark up this blunt. And I don't know what the fuck weed we put in this blunt. Absolutely could not tell you. But my fucking lord, did it send us to Jupiter. I take maybe 2 or 3 hits off of this blunt. And I swear to God, it's like I feel myself ascending. Do you guys ever get so fucked up that sometimes you feel that, G-force feeling? You know, where it feels like you're strapped to wherever you're sitting, and, if you stood up, you would just faint? You get that, not faint, but, you would just fall back down, almost like you're strapped down? That is exactly how I felt at this point, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm G-forcing it out after like 3 hits of this blunt. I feel like fucking Buzz Aldrin, dude. I'm going Buzz Lightyear, you could even argue. I'm going ballistic. And Jimmy hits this shit. He hits this blunt maybe 3 times. And Jimmy is a notorious puker when he's tripping. He rips this blunt and he starts coughing so hard that he opens the car door and just yaks all over the fucking road, dude. I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, we're in a nice residential neighborhood. These people, we don't know who they are, and we're puking on their property, so we're off to a good start. Let's just get shit cracking. So we don't even finish the blunt, dude. I think we smoked like half of the shit, and we were like, okay, let's get the spare on and get the fuck out, right? So we get out of the car, and I remember we go sit in the grass and just kind of look at the flat tire, and we're like, well, bro, we didn't even grab the spare or any tools, anything out of the trunk. We're sitting there looking at it, and we're just like, So what's next? what comes next, you know? And finally we realize, okay, maybe we should pop the trunk, you know? So we pop the trunk, you know? We get our goodies out. And we realize that we're tripping so hard, we don't know where the fuck to start. I'm sitting there and I look over to Jimmy and I'm like, well, do you know what you're doing? He's like, I'm fucked up, dude. I don't know about this. And he looks at me and he's like, what about you? And I'm like, dude, we might have to YouTube this one out. Like we might have to step by step. We might have to call Geico to come out and instruct us, dude. The little lizard needs to change it for us. Like, I don't know how we're going to do this, right? So I'm sitting there, and I pull out my phone, and I go on YouTube, and I look up a guide on how to change a tire. Not because I'd never seen it done it before, but because simply I'm tripping so hard that my brain can't put the formula together. It can't put the pieces together. I don't know how the fuck it's done, right? So I'm watching this guide. Jimmy's watching this guide with me. And it took us so long. We left Jimmy's house with the sun up and ended with the sun down. We're sitting there, and it was like a Bob the Builder-ass scene, dude, with just all the shit laid out around us. We got the phone laid out. We're laying around the phone. We got the spare. We got the lug nuts on the ground. It's going fucking ape. But finally, we figure out how to get this shitty little spare tire onto this car. And we get it on finally. And we're like, holy fuck, because this was grueling labor. I'm talking, we are sweating our asses off. We're tripping balls. And as we're trying to watch this goddamn video on our tiny little phone screens, every petal of grass is looking at me because I'm tripping balls. So I'm sitting here and I'm just overwhelmed, right? But finally we get it done. Admittedly, I did most of the work, but we finally got it done. We get back into Jimmy's brother's car and I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know, let's maybe just go back to your crib, you know? But I'm tripping balls, and this driving experience has gone from just cruising through the neighborhood to a full-on Mario Kart VR experience. So I hop back in his car, the street lights. Holy motherfuck, they're like flashbangs. Have you guys ever had the problem when you're out at night, the difference in lighting, like, really affects you when you're tripping? Because I swear to God, sometimes when I'm driving, if there's not, like, a street light blocking my view of the sky, it looks like the stars are almost like smearing into the houses and shit. Like, it looks like a big Van Gogh painting is the best way I can describe it. That's exactly what was happening. I'm driving into a goddamn Van Gogh painting here. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, holy fuck, bro. We're only 5 minutes from this guy's house, dude. And I'm sitting here lost, bro. I feel like I'm driving through GTA, dude. Like, this is crazy, bro. This is mental. But finally, with the help of Jimmy's Google Maps expertise and navigation, we find our way back to Jimmy's house. And we park that car in his driveway and get back. And we trip balls the entire rest of the night. I have no clue how we managed to change that tire. But you know what? We figured it out, dude. Granted, I think my tolerance is what really helped. Because if you asked me today to take 2 tabs of acid and change a tire, yeah, good fucking luck, dude. I've done a lot of acid in my day. Still, good luck keeping me focused on that task. Because not only do I have ADHD, but the acid combined with the ADHD, no chance, dude. Good fucking luck, dummy. But back then, I guess I was just almost an otherworldly being when it came to that shit. But we spent the rest of the night at Jimmy's house kicking it, dude. Hey, booling, having a ball. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Drop a like if you did, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, gamers. Don't forget to follow my new Instagram, linked in the description. Deuces.